In this lesson, we want to review dividing polynomials. So when we start working with polynomials, one of the more challenging processes that you work with is dividing polynomials. And more specifically, it's polynomial long division that gives students a lot of trouble. So this is an opportunity. If you're not good at this, we're going to review the process and you'll be able to work some sample problems. And hopefully you'll have this under your belt before we kind of move further into the course. So we're going to start out with the easiest scenario, which is dividing a polynomial by a monomial, okay? So this guy is really simple. You don't need to use any long division here. You're just going to set things up as a fraction. So if I have 6x squared minus 5x minus 10, and this is divided by 2x, this guy right here, my dividend, okay, my division problem, will be the numerator for the fraction. Then this will be over. The divisor 2x will be my denominator. And what am I going to do here? Well, essentially what I'm going to do is use a little trick from when I worked with fractions. So I'm going to take each part of the numerator and write it over the denominator. So I'm going to go 6x squared over 2x, and then I'll go plus negative 5x over 2x, and then plus negative 10 over 2x. Now, if you saw this, you should know that you can make it into that. And because we have inequality there, you can go back and forth. If I saw 6x squared over 2x plus negative 5x over 2x plus negative 10 over 2x, I know that I have a common denominator of 2x, so I'm allowed to write 6x squared minus 5x minus 10 over the common denominator of 2x, which is what I have here, okay? So we know that this is legal, and now we can just go through and simplify each part separately. So what I'm going to look at is, what can I do? So 6 over 2 is 3. X squared over x would be x to the first power. So let me write 3x. Then we have plus. You have negative 5x over 2x. Well, I know the x's would cancel there. So I would end up with minus 5 over 2. In decimal form, you could write that as negative 2.5, but I'm just going to leave it as a fraction. Then we have plus. We have negative 10 over 2x. So this would cancel with this and give me a 5. So essentially, I would have minus 5 over x. So this would be our answer from the division. I want you to notice that this is not a polynomial, and that's okay, right? The reason it's not a polynomial is because you have a variable in the denominator. And sometimes when you divide a polynomial by another polynomial, you get an answer that is not a polynomial like we got here. But again, that's okay, not an issue. Now, if you wanted to check this, we know that when we do division, something like 6 divided by 3 equals 2, we can go backwards and we can check. So I can do 2 times 3 equals 6, right? That's how I check my answer. I can do the same thing here. If 6x squared minus 5x minus 10 divided by 2x gives me 3x minus 5 halves minus 5 over x, well, then I should be able to multiply this by this to get this, okay? Let's check and see if that's true. So 2x multiplied by the quantity 3x minus 5 over 2 minus 5 over x. What does that give me? Let me kind of erase this. So 2x times 3x would be 6x squared. Then we'd have 2x times negative 5 over 2. So let's think about that. We know it would be negative. 2x multiplied by 5 over 2 is what? The 2's would cancel. I'd have 5x there. So this would be minus 5x. Then we'd have 2x multiplied by negative 5 over x. I know this is negative. Then 2x times 5 over x. I know that these x's would cancel. I'd basically have 2 times 5, which is 10. So this would be 10. So what did we end up with? We got 6x squared minus 5x minus 10, which is exactly what we have right here. Okay, so that tells us our answer is correct. All right, now let's turn to polynomial long division, which is the process that pretty much every student hates. It comes from the fact that in elementary school, a lot of students hate long division with regular whole numbers, and that hatred kind of carries itself through when we start working with polynomial long division. I can assure you this is an easy process. It's something that you just have to work step by step on. So let's start out by just setting this guy up. We have 5x cubed plus 24x squared plus 20x minus 5, and this is divided by 5x minus 1. So we're going to use a standard long division process, 5x cubed plus 24x squared plus 20x minus 5. So the very first thing is to make sure that both your dividend and your divisor are in standard form. So in descending order of the power. So 3, 2, 1, and then constant. So we're good to go there. So I'm going to put this underneath my kind of long division symbol. And then out to the left of this, I'm going to put my divisor. So my 5x minus 1. So once I've done this, I'm pretty much ready to start. And essentially what you want to do is leading term into leading term. So I want to take this guy right here, the leading term of the divisor, and ask how many times will it go into the leading term of the dividend. So in other words, I am asking the question, what is 5x cubed divided by 5x? Okay, very, very simple. 5 divided by 5 is 1. X cubed over x is x squared. Okay, so I would take that x squared and I would write it over the slot for x squared. So in other words, this is kind of the place value for the x cubed. This is the place value for the x squared. This is the one for the x to the first power, and this is for my constant. So I'm going to take and write that right here, x squared. Some tutorials, some teachers will just put the x squared all the way to the left. You can do that if you want to, but I was always taught that you want to maintain the place value, just like if you were working with whole numbers, okay? All right, so now the next step is to multiply. So I'm going to multiply by this term and this term, okay? So x squared is going to multiply 5x and then also negative 1. So x squared times 5x is 5x cubed. X squared times negative 1 is going to be minus x squared. The next step that we're going to do is we're going to subtract. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this inside of parentheses and put a subtraction symbol out in front. And what that's telling me to do, again, whenever you see a subtraction sign in front of parentheses, in order to drop the parentheses, you got to change the sign of each term. That's why you see a lot of times you'll see plus negative 1 here, right? It's to distribute the negative 1 to each term. If you want to drop the parentheses, you just change the sign. So this becomes minus and this becomes plus. Okay? So now we're going to subtract or add, or however you want to think about this. You're basically going to combine like terms. So 24x squared plus x squared is 25x squared. And 5x cubed minus 5x cubed is 0. So basically this guy is going to cancel. So I'm just left with this. And now I want to bring down the next term. So bring down the next term. So this is plus 20x, okay? And once I've done that, I want to go into the repeat or remainder, okay? So if I brought something down, I want to repeat the process. So I start with division again. So I'm going to go leading term, which is this guy, into leading term. But I'm not working up here anymore, I'm working down here. So this is my leading term now. So I want to do 25x squared divided by 5x. So what is that? 25 divided by 5 is 5. X squared over x is x to the first power. So my answer is going to go above this 20x, so plus 5x, and then I multiply. Again, when I multiply, I want to multiply by this whole thing. 5x multiplied by 5x is 25x squared. 5x multiplied by negative 1 is minus 5x. Now you can do the parentheses if it helps you to remember to change the sign of each term before you combine like terms. Okay, very important because you want to subtract this polynomial away. Once you get really good at this, what I end up doing is just changing the sign and just combining like terms. All right, so now we know that 25x squared over 25x squared, that's going to cancel, so you don't even need to worry about that. 20x plus 5x is 25x. And at this point, I'm going to scroll down and get some room going. Okay, so now I want to bring down my next term, which is negative 5. And I want to repeat the process because I brought something down. So again, leading term into leading term. So I'm working here now. This is my leading term. 5x goes into 25x how many times? So what is 25x over 5x? We know that the x's would cancel completely. 25 over 5 is 5. So I would put plus 5 here, and then I would multiply. 5 times 5x is 25x, and then 5 times negative 1 is minus 5. Now, you see you have the same thing over itself. When I change the sign of each term, it's going to become 0, right? Because if I put parentheses around and put the minus, I drop the parentheses by what? Changing the sign. And then if I combine like terms, this is 0 and that's 0. This just tells you right here that you don't have a remainder, right? If I was to multiply 5x minus 1 times x squared plus 5x plus 5, I would get this exactly, right? There's no remainder. Now, I want to take a moment and kind of go back through the steps with you. And if you have a piece of paper and a pen, I want you to write down this kind of acronym. So you have D, M, S, B, Okay, DMSBR. Some of you will remember this from elementary school. A lot of people will say dad, mom, sister, brother, and then rover. Okay, so this obviously is just a way to remember the DMSBR. So dad, mom, sister, brother, rover. What does this stand for? So dad stands for division. Okay, that's what it represents. Mom stands for multiply. Sister stands for subtract. Brother stands for bring down. And rover stands for repeat or remainder. Okay, so when we first start the process, we did leading term into leading term. That was division. Then once we got our answer, we did multiplication. Then we subtracted. Then we brought down the next term. Then we repeated the process, right? We did division again. Then we multiplied. Then we subtracted. Then we brought down. Then we did the repeat again, right? Until we got to the point to where we didn't have anything else to bring down. So this rover changes from repeat to remainder, which in this case, there is no remainder. It's just 0, okay? So that's how you know you're done with your division. So you want to write this down. And if you follow this kind of step by step, it'll help you, because sometimes you're like, well, what's the next step? What do I do? Well, it's always divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, and then repeat or remainder depending on if you brought down something else. Now, let me erase this real quick. Hopefully you have it down. If not, you can pause the video. I want to check my result. And I'm not going to check all of them today, but you know how to check them. I just want to verify that this guy multiplied by this guy gives me this guy. So I would have 5x minus 1 multiplied by x squared plus 5x plus 5. Okay, so to do this, 5x would multiply by every term here. So I'm not going to write this out. I'm just going to do it on the fly. So 5x times x squared is 5x cubed. 5x times 5x is plus 25x squared. 5x times 5 is plus 25x. Now, I need to multiply -1 by each term here. Multiplying something by -1 just changes the sign. So I'm just going to go through and change the sign of each term. So I'd have -x squared minus 5x minus 5. So just combine like terms, I'd have 5x cubed. I have 25x squared and -x squared. That would give me plus 24x squared. I have 25x and minus 5x. That would be plus 20x. And then I have minus 5. So if I look at this guy right here, it completely matches this guy up here. 5x cubed plus 24x squared plus 20x minus 5. So again, if you're struggling, you can always check your answer using multiplication. All right, let's take a look at one that has a remainder involved, just so you can get a little bit of experience with that if you've never seen it. So I'm going to set up my division problem the same way. I have 7x to the 4th power plus 11x cubed plus 50x squared minus 38x plus 14. This is divided by 7x minus 3. So 7x to the 4th power plus 11x cubed plus 50x squared minus 38x plus 14. Let me kind of move this a little bit. I'll have to move it down too. Okay, make my long division symbol, and then I have 7x minus 3 out in front. And let me kind of scroll down, get a little room going. All right, so again, dad, mom, sister, brother, rover. So we start with the D step, okay, divide. So I'm going to go leading term into leading term. So what is 7x to the 4th power divided by 7x? The 7s would cancel. X to the 4th power over x is x cubed. So this would be x cubed. Now I want to multiply. X cubed times 7x is 7x to the 4th power. X cubed times -3 is minus 3x cubed. Okay, so again, if we want to subtract this now, instead of putting parentheses around it, I can just change the sign and combine like terms. So we know this is going to cancel. 11x cubed plus 3x cubed is 14x cubed. And now I want to bring down this term here. So plus 50x squared. Okay, so now again, after I've brought something down, I want to repeat the process. Okay, that's the rover step. So now this is my leading term here. So leading term into leading term. What's that going to be? If I had 14x cubed over 7x, 14 divided by 7 is 2. X cubed over x is x squared. So this would be plus 2x squared. And I can multiply. 2x squared times 7x is 14x cubed. 2x squared times negative 3 is minus 6x squared. Again, if I want to subtract, I'm just going to change the sign. So minus and then plus. Okay, don't forget to do that. This is going to cancel. 50x squared plus 6x squared is 56x squared. Bring down the next term, so minus 38x. Let me kind of scroll down and get a little room going. So again, I'm repeating the process now. So leading term into leading term. So this guy's your leading term now. 7x goes into 56x squared how many times? So 56x squared divided by 7x. So this guy cancels with this guy and gives me 8. This cancels with this and gives me x. So just 8x. So plus 8x. Now we want to multiply. So if I multiply 8x times 7x, I get 56x squared. 8x times negative 3 is minus 24x. Okay, so this will be minus, this will be plus. Again, don't forget to change the signs. It's very easy to forget and you'll make a mistake. So this is going to cancel. Negative 38x plus 24x is negative 14x. And now we can bring down this guy right here, so plus 14. So now we're going to do leading term into leading term. And so what is negative 14x divided by 7x? And that's going to give me negative 2, right? This would cancel with this and give me a negative 2. And x over x cancels and becomes 1. So this is negative 2. So I'll put minus 2 here. And let's go ahead and multiply. Negative 2 times 7x is negative 14x. Negative 2 times negative 3 is plus 6. And again, let's scroll down, get some room going. So change the sign of this and change the sign of this. Combine like terms. This cancels. 14 minus 6 is going to give me 8. So this guy right here is your remainder. Let me erase everything. So when you have a remainder, you're going to write it like this. You're going to say plus, the remainder was 8. So 8 over 7x minus 3. So take your remainder and put it over your divisor. Okay, so just like that. All right, so to kind of wrap up the lesson, let's look at the scenario where we have missing powers. So when we divide polynomials and a power is missing, we use 0 as the coefficient for each missing power. So what do we mean when we say missing power? Well, if you have a polynomial that's, let's say, a 4th degree polynomial, meaning the highest exponent is a 4, then what you expect to have is x to the 4th, x cubed, x squared, x, and then your constant term. Well, if you're missing one of those powers, as an example, if I had something like x cubed plus 3x plus 2, I'm missing an x squared, right? I have x cubed, no x squared, x to the first power, and a constant. So what I can do is I can just rewrite this as x cubed plus 0x squared plus 3x plus 2. So the 0 isn't adding any value here. It's not changing anything. 0 times anything is always 0. It's just a placeholder. Okay, it's just something we're going to use to make sure that we can line things up properly and do our division. So let's take a look at a problem. So we're going to look at 3x cubed minus 2x plus 5 divided by x minus 3. So we set this up the normal way. So let's just make a little long division symbol. We have 3x cubed. I'm missing x squared. So I'm going to put plus, I'm going to put 0 and then x squared. And then I have minus 2x and then plus 5. So from this point on, everything is the same, right? You just need to make sure you put that 0 in as the coefficient for the term that you're basically missing. I'm missing x squared, so I got 0x squared now. Over here, I'm going to put my x minus 3, and then I'm just going to run through my steps. So remember, it's dad, mom, sister, brother, rover, okay? Dad, mom, sister, brother, rover. Really easy to remember. So we start with the dad step or the divide. So I want to go leading term into leading term. So what is 3x cubed over x? Well, x cubed over x is just x squared, right? So this would be 3x squared. Now I want to do my mom step or multiply. So multiply 3x squared by x, I get 3x cubed. Multiply 3x squared by negative 3, I get minus 9x squared. Okay, so now I want to subtract. And again, you could put parentheses around it, or the quicker way is just to realize I'm just changing the sign of everything. So change the sign of this and this. And then we can just combine like terms. So 3x cubed minus 3x cubed is, of course, 0. So that part's going to cancel. You think about 0x squared plus 9x squared, that's just 9x squared. And then I'm at my brother step or my bring down step. Okay, so bring down this negative 2x, and then we're at the rover step, which means we're going to repeat, right? In this case, because we brought something down. So again, I'm going to go leading term into leading term. So what is 9x squared divided by x? So x squared over x is just x, right? So this would be 9x. So plus 9x. And now we're at our multiply step. So 9x times x is 9x squared. And then 9x times negative 3 is minus 27x. And again, we're at our subtract stage, so we want to put a minus here and a plus here. Again, change the signs. You got to remember to do that. I can't tell you how many papers I've looked at, how many students I've helped, where they just forget to change the sign, and that's what throws their answer off. So 9x squared minus 9x squared is 0. That's going to cancel. Negative 2x plus 27x would be 25x. And then we have one more term that we can bring down. So let's bring that down. And then one more time, we're going to go leading term into leading term. Okay, so what is x into 25x? Or in other words, what is 25x divided by x? And you know that's just 25. So plus 25. Erase this. 25 times x is going to be 25x. We kind of get a little room going here. So this is 25x. And then 25 times negative 3 is minus 75. Okay. So then again, we want to subtract. So this becomes minus, this becomes plus, and we can combine our like terms. 25x minus 25x is 0. 5 plus 75 is 80. Okay. Nothing else to bring down here, so what we end up with here now is our remainder, right? So this 80 here is the remainder. So very simple process overall, not much different when you end up with a missing term. You go through the same steps, the same process. You just want to make sure you put 0 as the coefficient for the missing term. So let me erase this, and let me kind of throw this over here. So we'll put is equal to this plus our remainder, which is 80, over your divisor, which is x minus 3. So we get 3x squared plus 9x plus 25 plus 80 over x minus 3.